Let's just put it out there. Looking at the aged care system for the first time can bring on an immediate wave of overwhelming dread, right? Honestly, I completely understand. If you're feeling that way, you are absolutely not alone. From the outside, it literally just looks like this massive, terrifying bureaucratic maze filled with acronyms, constantly changing rules, and confusing dead ends. But stick with me here in this explainer because I'm going to promise you something. We are going to demystify the whole shebang. We'll reveal a totally simple, logical pathway to actually navigate this system without losing your mind. By the end of this, you're going to see that aged care isn't just some cliff you suddenly fall off. It's actually a thoughtfully structured journey.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. First, we're mapping the care continuum. Then we'll look at the 2 doors to home care, followed by the post-hospital bridge. After that, we'll explore the hidden hero, respite. And finally, wrap up with full-time residential care.
All right, Section 1, Mapping the Care Continuum.
You know, a lot of the time when people hear the phrase aged care, they instantly jump straight to nursing homes. But the system really isn't just one giant leap into a facility. It's actually a true continuum with 5 real distinct touch points. Think of it like steps. It starts with a really light touch through the Commonwealth Home Support Program. Then it steps up to structured support at home. From there, it offers a transition care bridge if you've had a hospital stay, provides temporary relief through respite, and only at the very end of the line does it lead to permanent residential aged care. It's a natural progression that simply matches your level of need, step by step.
Moving on to Section 2, 2 doors to home care.
Now, you might be wondering, why on earth are there 2 totally different programs just for home care? Well, think of it like having different doors depending on the severity of your need. The first door is the CHSP. This is your entry-level option. It's for low-intensity, occasional help. So think basic domestic assistance, getting a few meals dropped off, or maybe just some help with transport. It's an absolutely brilliant, low-barrier entry point. But then you have the other door, support at home. This one is specifically for folks who've been assessed as having much more complex needs. This is where the structured, comprehensive, and fully funded care kicks in, covering the heavy hitters like nursing, allied health, and even home modifications to keep people living independently.
What's really fascinating here is the sheer scale of that support at home pathway. When you walk through that second door, there are currently 8 different funding levels per year. We're talking anywhere from roughly $11,000 up to over $78,000 annually, totally depending on your assessed need. And to give you a real sense of how massive this is, there were literally 106,000 home care admissions in just the 2024 to 2025 period alone. So yeah, this isn't some niche little program. Keeping people funded and supported in their own homes is a huge priority for the system right now.
Okay, but there is a slight catch you definitely need to be aware of. We are currently looking at a system that's mid-transition. Right now, as things stand, those dual entry points exist side by side. But as we look toward the future, the grand plan is to merge them together. The lower intensity CHSP is scheduled to eventually fold entirely into one single support at home system. Crucially, though, this merge won't happen any earlier than July 2027. So, for the next few years at least, understanding how both of these separate doors work remains absolutely essential. Which brings us to Section 3, the post-hospital bridge.
So, imagine you or a loved one has just had a stint in the hospital. You've been discharged, but let's be real, you're just not quite ready to return home unsupported. Enter transition care, or TCP. This is a genuinely brilliant bridge designed specifically for recovery. It provides targeted physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and personal care aimed squarely at helping you regain your strength and mobility. But, and this is a critical procedural detail you absolutely must remember, to access TCP, you have to get an ACAT assessment arranged during your actual hospital stay, before they discharge you. Don't miss that step.
The absolute most important thing to understand about transition care, though, is that it is strictly time-limited. Remember, it's a bridge, not a final destination. It lasts for up to 12 weeks. With around 22,900 admissions recently, it's actually a declining but still incredibly vital stepping stone. It gives families that crucial breathing room to arrange longer-term care or maybe get some home modifications sorted out, all without keeping the patient stuck unnecessarily in a hospital bed. Let's move on to Section 4, the hidden hero, respite. I actually like to call respite care the odd one out of the continuum, but honestly, in the best way possible. By definition, respite is temporary care that provides a planned break to informal or family carers. What makes it structurally so unique is that it is entirely location flexible. It isn't defined by where the care happens. It could be in home or it could be in a residential facility. It's defined purely by its purpose. It is literally just there to give the carer a break, which means it can technically overlap with pretty much any of the other categories we've already talked about. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how critical that purpose is. Get ready for a major data twist. You will probably assume that permanent care is the biggest driver of facility admissions, right? Well, wrong. In the 2024 to 2025 data, there were 96,400 respite residential admissions, completely eclipsing the 77,400 permanent admissions. That is a truly striking statistic. It shows us that respite is the hidden hero doing the heavy lifting to support the carers. It proves that the aged care system isn't just about the person receiving the care, it's about sustaining the entire family support network.
Okay, final stop. Section 5, full-time residential care.
This is residential aged care, often just called RAC. This is the permanent, ongoing solution for folks who simply cannot be safely cared for at home anymore. When someone reaches this stage, the system essentially wraps completely around the individual. It provides 24/7 personal care and nursing, takes care of all accommodation and meals, and even integrates lifestyle support. And, unsurprisingly, because this care is so comprehensive, it does require a full aged care assessment to access. It really is the system's final safety net. Now let's zoom out. When we look at this ultimate master cheat sheet, we get an incredibly empowering visual summary of all 5 steps in one single place. You can clearly see how the duration shifts, starting from ongoing light help, transitioning to strict 12-week post-hospital bridges, all the way down to permanent 24/7 housing. And you can see how the purpose evolves exactly in step with the individual's needs. When you view it like this, logically laid out side by side, the big, scary maze totally disappears. It's really just a pathway. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this: knowledge is power. The aged care system doesn't have to be some scary, unknown entity that just sneaks up on you during a crisis. It is a structured continuum designed to meet you exactly where you are. Now that you've got the map and you understand these 5 distinct steps, how will this continuum change the way you plan for the future? Use this framework, share it with your family, and start having those important conversations today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.